Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I am Peter. And joining me, as always, on these episode reviews is Watch Party. How you doing, sir?
I am pumped and ready to get going, man.
That's right. I think this is the first time we've recorded in the morning.
It is the first time, like
Yeah.
ever.
Oh,
So,
at least for the episode review, right? I mean, we've probably done like afternoons and stuff for like other things.
yeah,
I
like on
feel.
on the YouTube or something. I think
Right.
I
Yeah.
had you on. Mhm.
Yeah. Or even when we had like Drew and from the Last Row podcast, and also Ken Cole when we did the prop bets, which we still need to do the results show for. But I think that was also in the afternoon. But
No,
you
that
know,
was a morning. Now I remember because
oh,
I almost overslept. I remember that.
okay. Well, so but here we go. We're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I think it's the expression.
Mhm.
Portland is covered in snow right now. We had a bit of a blizzard yesterday.
Ooh,
Looks beautiful, but I have the rest of the week off. For those that don't follow me, and maybe if you guys didn't listen to the previous episode with interview with Michael Jonathan Smith, I mentioned that we were actually watch party. You and I, we were supposed to record this episode prior to the trip to Disneyland, my family
hmm
trip, and
hmm
we were unable to make that work before I left, and then we came back after being a week gone. A couple days later, we had a passing in the family, and at the time of this recording, the funeral was in a couple days here. Yeah, something like that.
hmm
So it's kind of been dealing a lot with that. I'm working, but for those that were kind of following, like, my move from, to my new station, the hours have gotten a lot better. I'm working, less late. I've been having more 8-hour days, which is really weird. Getting home, I'm like, I got a lot of time on my hands, but
It's like
yeah,
fist pump. I'm down to full time. Like,
down to full time from
yeah,
overtime. Um, that doesn't mean that overtime is completely gone. I'll be
yeah.
mandated still
hmm
when necessary, obviously, but
hmm
they've been using me less. And that's great. We've been able to fill a lot of vacancies. I've been spending a lot of time with the family, as you'd
hmm
imagine, having the extra time off. And since I'm part of the immediate family, I kind of been helping facilitate things. People are flying in
hmm
from out of state, and kind of helping with making arrangements and doing pickups and things like that too. But I found a little window here that was going to work for the both of us, and we're back, and we're going to get into the Taikai episode. And after this, man, we got 2 more episodes, and then after that, I just plan on doing a bunch of fun list episodes of like past season or whatnot to kind of fill in for the rest of the year.
hmm
Um, not any or not any. There's currently no updates on Twisted Metal. I did speak with Michael, obviously, a little bit about that, not on the recording, and there's not a whole lot that he was able to share other than he expects them to kind of wrap posts like within the next month.
hmm
And I think that was about a week ago or so when I spoke with him. So that's good news there. Obliterated, still haven't heard anything about that. But for the Peyton List fans, School Spirits, it'll be out here just right around the corner, March 9th. So I
hmm
think I think there's only 9 episodes. I don't I think I might be able to maybe do some coverage on that as well. So for those that didn't see the trailer, I got a little bit of the what was that one show? 13 Reasons. I believe that's what it was called.
That yeah, 13 Reasons Why on Netflix.
Why?
That one.
Yes, yeah. I get the same type of feel when I watch that trailer,
Mm.
and I put on the trailer for my wife, and she actually thought it looks interesting as well. So
Yeah, that's
possible.
what I had said. We mentioned it briefly last episode, I think, last recap, and I said it did look like a decent premise.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
so
like it.
yeah, hey,
Uh,
you
for
never know. Like maybe you can get some screeners. Just shoot your shot.
Yeah, maybe, right?
Maybe,
That'd be
yeah.
yeah.
Who knows?
For those that don't know any of the details on that yet, let me get this one out of the way. On March 9th, the first 3 episodes will drop, and then one episode every Thursday thereafter. And I believe there's 9 episodes, so 6 episodes after March 9th. And then also that basically the premise of that story of that show is Peyton List's character. She's the lead. her character has died, and she is stuck in school in the afterlife, like a bit of a purgatory. And there's other people there as well, and they're kind of continuing on, and it's kind of like a whodunit. She doesn't know why she's there, which is unusual because everyone there seems to know why they died and whatnot. She doesn't, so it's a mystery. So I'm very, very interested. So keep a
Yeah, like it's
lookout
an
on that.
interesting premise, and but that's on Paramount Plus. So,
Correct.
yeah,
Yes, exclusively.
exclusively,
So
right?
a few choice language. Also on the Cobra Kai front, we want to give a shout out to a few nominations here at the Critics' Choice Super Awards. So what is that, do you ask? We still don't really know. But according to Wikipedia, it is. I don't have it up. Because there we go. It is an awards show presented annually by the Critics' Choice Association to honor the finest in genre fiction film, television and home media releases, including action, superhero, horror, science fiction, fantasy, and animation releases. So maybe some of the other genres that don't get enough love, in these type of awards. So
Yeah.
Cobra Kai nominated for best action series or TV film, I believe it was.
Hmm.
So congrats to the entire team, obviously, but also William Zabka and Ralph Macchio for best actor in an action series. So I
How do they decide who's going to win? They're going to have to fight it out.
think so. I think they saw my chosen post, with it takes down all six senseis, and I label all the other senseis the other
Hmm.
nominees. So hopefully Cobra Kai wins. This will be great. I saw one other show that I have actually seen, Reacher. Reacher is a good show in terms of
Hmm.
action. I think Cobra Kai has better action than Reacher. I think Reacher's a really good show though. So the other
Yeah.
ones I'm not familiar with. But yeah, may
But
the best show
in
win.
that actor category, I did see Stallone is nominated, which is almost like it brings it into an Avildsen reunion.
Yeah,
Kevin Costner
right.
is nominated too, so it's actually a really impressive field there, just in terms of the actors nominated for that.
Oh
So
yeah, but do either of those characters have peak versions of their characters in their
not
respective
even
seasons?
close, not even close.
Yeah, nobody beats peak Johnny. Come on. I think that's it. Is there anything else you could think of? Kind of house cleaning before we get into this episode proper?
Um, the only other thing is, we had heard back in December, sort of on accident, that they were going to start the writers' room in February. No
Yes.
one's announced anything yet, but we're kind of late in February, so maybe we'll assume it's going on. Probably people are working in shifts or something, because I'm certain Obliterated post production is still going on. So, the big three are probably going back and forth, and you even know Michael Jonathan Smith is still finishing up post on his. So, but that doesn't mean the writers' room isn't going. I'm sure it probably is. So by now,
Right, right. Yeah. And let's see if you follow, I'm not dropping any names here, but if you follow the correct people on social media, somebody close to the writer's room, I think I can say it like that, shared something, an image of a location that made me think, huh, well, they are there. So that looks good. So I have reasons to believe people are in the writer's room, whether they are currently writing or just spitballing things, that I don't know. But you know, we are one day closer to season six. That's all I'm happy about.
yeah. Hmm.
All right, so this episode 8 of season 5, titled Taikai. This was written by Ashley Darnell, who previously wrote Downward Spiral episode 4, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right.
And
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, she had the little cameo where she exits the Eagle Fang van, and Johnny
Right.
calls her an asshole for leaving her the 1 star for leaving him the 1 star for the van smelling like beer.
Hmm.
And also directed by Mario Woods again. So same pairing, also if I'm not mistaken. And previous interview, the Mario Woods. So happy to see her back again. Obviously, I so first impressions. What did you think of this episode?
Um. Well, I'm sitting here looking at the title. Why is it just Taikai and not Sekai Taikai? To get into the deep questions first, is it just tournament? Like, because that's the word for tournament, right? So,
Correct.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Sekai Taikai, for those that don't know, it means world tournament,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just Taikai because of the tournament between, the mini tournament that we have here between
That
the
we
two
have going on.
dojos.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's what it is. But otherwise, I think there's a lot of like good stuff in this episode. I do think it's still one of the weaker ones of season 5. As we'll kind of get into. I don't think like the fans are buying some of the fights as much, just especially on general fan reaction that I see. Um, but then there's like every episode, even if there's stuff that people don't like as much, there's a lot of like strong stuff going on. The board and stuff, and so uh yeah. So I think that's in general like it's kind of like a mixed bag episode.
I enjoy it. I'm just going to be echoing a lot of what you were saying. There's a lot to like. There's things that you're like, okay, well, it is what it is. But do you remember any kind of the details that Michael shared in the interview? Because he did mention, he obviously kind of brought up again that yeah, Netflix wanted the second season in the same year here because they wanted to strike the iron while it's hot kind of thing. And I believe he mentioned that they had like the first two seasons pretty much polished and then it was like go time, right? Like they kind of started the filming and then all the other episodes they were still working on throughout production.
Right. Yeah. I
So
remember he said they were in pre-production by the time the first draft of episode 3 came in. And they were already in pre-production. And yeah, and they took the writers' room to Atlanta. So yeah, definitely. They were writing the scripts ultimately while they were still filming. I remember
and
that
I
part of it. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of wonder like maybe there's really no formula, but like, well, what if the stronger stuff were like the strict outlines, like this is what we, need to get to, and then maybe the other stuff in between, it's because like, short on time, so you can't really sit there in a writer's room with everybody spitballing ideas on execution or the dialogue, right? So
Hmm.
everyone's kind of like, I think Michael even said they were kind of like, was it separated to the winds or everybody was out kind of doing their own thing once they got to Atlanta because they were already starting production.
Hmm.
So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, to kind of get into it, we'll go ahead and get into Amy's synopsis as she provides every episode. So again, as always, appreciate that. Amy writes the Sekai Takai committee has showed up in the valley to determine if Cobra Kai is worthy of inclusion in the competition this year. Terry clearly thinks he has it in the bag and is in full salesman mode, but Team Daniel, dojo name to be determined, makes a dramatic entrance and throws their hat into the ring. The committee is surprised to find there's another championship dojo in the area because Terry had indicated Cobra Kai were the only stars in town. He is slightly thrown by the committee's apparent ethics as they declare that they'd like to see what both have to offer before they make their decision. After the two-ish dojos present their strengths to the committee and Johnny bonds with one of them over Rocky, they decide that it's just too close and they'll need to see the groups compete to see who qualifies. After it's decided that Hawk will fight Kenny and Sam will fight Tory, they begin their training and the nerves start to show. Sam is overwhelmed but gets a hell of a pep talk from Daniel and Chosen. Likewise, Terry builds up Kenny's confidence by sharing his past as Twig and teaching him a potentially lethal punch that will take Hawk down. But none of it matters. Terry has another ref in his pocket that's willing to make most of the calls in Cobra Kai's favor. What he wasn't counting on was that the committee noticed, uh, wait, was he wasn't counting on was that the committee noticed the ref wasn't dirty enough to pretend everybody in the room was blind, and Tori's continuing struggle with being a double agent on a cheating team resulted in her bailing before she had to fight Sam. When all is said and done, the committee gives both teams their seal of approval and admits them. Not having learned anything about how every party these kids throw ends badly, the adults send them off to celebrate without supervision. Fortunately, the worst that happens this time around is that Sam, who has found the necklace, Miguel tossed away at Miyagi-Do, has the usual terrible timing and walks in to see him making out with some random girl. But there's no time for that to turn into a thing because Tori is there. She's not there to fight. She's there to tell some truths about Cobra Kai. Thank you, Amy, for that.
Hmm.
Um, yes, every party they throw ends
It's
badly.
badly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We will definitely get there. So yeah, let's start off with the very beginning here. The Sekai Taikai organizers, they arrive at the Cobra Kai flagship dojo.
Mhm.
One thing you mentioned in a previous video of yours, to talk about like I think it was a video about how they could use I'm blanking on the name, Julie Pierce here, if like the senseis have a fight or whatnot, because
All
your
right. Yeah.
observation is that Sensei Blondie here is also kind of like doing a bit of a demo, and that's for them to kind of like take note, right? Like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
your senseis are worthy or whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of want to talk about the organizers a little bit.
The board, the board. Yeah.
The board, yeah, because the lead gentleman here, he also refers to them to as organizers. So maybe the organizers are them, but excluding
Mhm.
him, maybe he's like the chairman like Ron.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I call him like the international Ron or something like,
yeah,
which by the way, I'm hoping for next season, like a showdown between those two.
stealing each other's
Yeah,
mics.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what do you think about this process? Is it just because Terry Silver like flew them over? Is there Um, I'm just trying to think like they don't visit every dojo around the world, do they?
Um, that's a good question because it definitely seems like, there could be like a process where dojos are admitted legacy. Like if you were admitted before, you can get admitted. Yeah, they probably don't like, especially they're not going to like visit the same dojo year after year. Okay, you're admitted again. Um, but so I feel like it's the process because this is a dojo, not to mention in America, um, that they've never visited. So I feel like, but I do feel like the admission process, um, is rigorous. But yeah, I don't know if there's some form of this for every dojo. It seems like probably not. But then I don't know. We also don't know how ultimately how many dojos are in it. Is it like 100? Because
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's world tournament, but like how many slots are open, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if they were almost filled, and then Terry's like, hey, do you have room for one more? And then he tries to, entice them with like, these sponsorships and broadcasting, things or whatever. I didn't really write that down. What he was, kind of, yeah, I don't want to say bribing, but that's basically right. Like you just say, hey, there's a market here that you guys weren't able to get, and I can help out with that kind of thing. And so, to jump forward ahead, like if like how many slots are available, because then they also, give our heroes here admission as well. So I was just kind
Right.
of like, huh, this is just kind of interesting. I wonder how many dojos worldwide. Maybe they had just two slots available, and this was kind of it. Like, okay, well, let's go see them up front because the other ones they are more familiar with, I guess,
I
on
mean,
a
yeah,
global
the
level.
impression I've always had is it is in something like I always tell people in my live streams or something, other fans is like the one thing to note is you're admitted as a dojo. It's not individual students, like it's the whole dojo or not. Um, so so that's important. And it just, yeah, definitely seems to be a a certain qualification. Your dojo has to meet a certain qualification. And I guess desire, intention to go. So yeah, there has to be some sort of process. Maybe like also like maybe the whole board doesn't always go
Hmm.
for like an evaluation. There's six of them or something. Like they can each go to a different dojo, but the whole board came to this one because it's like a completely new school in America where they've never had a dojo. So I think maybe that could be part of it.
Right, because he also mentions like they cannot guarantee admission, just
Mhm.
because they're
Right.
there and all these things,
Right.
so they
Yeah.
so they really have to evaluate them, and I would imagine that the boards is like a mix of that like, so some of those individuals, that's their job, and some of them were like maybe former fighters as well, I
Hmm.
would
Hmm.
imagine. Um, let's see here. So I do like how the Miyagi Fang, they kind of walk in. It's almost like in s- uh I'm blanking on the name. See, this is my problem in the morning. Like my mind is still like kind of waking up. There's a bit of a time difference. You've been up a little bit longer than me. Um, so start no. What's the pair? What's the parody movie of Star Wars? Mel Brooks, Spaceballs. Yeah,
Spaceballs, yeah,
it
yeah.
comes up all the time on the show, and I couldn't even think Spaceballs. So
Hmm.
it's like in Spaceballs at the end when Princess Vespa is about to marry Prince Valium, and then Lone Star walks in like, no, she doesn't, and it's like, who the
Yeah.
hell are you? So this is kind of like the similar entrance, that's the vibe that I get when
Hmm.
these guys walk in. Everyone's like, who the hell are you? So, I'm Lone Star, I'm a certified prince, and all that.
Hmm.
So people get the reference. Um, and again, another Johnny moment where, he thinks that they're going to win, tells Terry that, and once they win, that he's going to shove that ponytail straight up your ass.
Yes, yeah.
So you can have him translate that. Now, one interesting thing is, this is where we also learn, Chosen's actual rank as Master Sensei. And I really like that one of the organizers, he also kind of gives like a slight bow to Chosen. So I feel like, I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe
he
this
returns the
gentleman,
bow. Right. Hmm.
he does, like it's
Hmm.
like, oh, is he a former fighter? Is that just because, like, perhaps this gentleman is also Japanese and recognizes
Just respect,
the
yeah.
tradition? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
also, like, in my mind, I'm like kind of low key wondering, is he familiar with Master Sensei Taguchi? You know?
Um, I didn't think that, but it would be interesting. That would be interesting. Or just, yeah, maybe he's been to Okinawa even and trained
Right.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe not necessarily something to keep an eye on, but that would be interesting. If
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, okay, Taguchi is a name we have heard for sure. So,
Hmm.
just yeah, the return of that respect there. We kind of cut to Terry Silver and Sensei Kim in his office, and she is not happy. Um, she doesn't think he was prepared for this, but also, I mean, how do you prepare? How did you know they were going to walk in unless somebody was monitoring, their surveillance that they were about to walk in?
Yeah, yeah, you can't prepare and they when you have good timing, you have good timing, and they had good timing. So,
They really did. I mean, I'm sure they missed the two buses that pulled up right out front, with the Eagles,
oh, right, yeah.
or you know, how do you think they all got there? They all to Goobers
I
or
think I think Daniel drove his Audi SUV, right? He has an Audi SUV.
uh,
Um,
stacked all the kids inside sideways?
well, they didn't bring the kids, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I don't know. You know what? My mind's thinking again. It's a little bit early for me, but I was thinking at the end when all the kids are there. So you're right. It's just
Hmm.
the four of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
including Amanda. Um, let's see. Now we got a brief moment with Tori and Devin. They're just kind of going over some kicking exercises here, and Devin likes this. She likes the idea of like them winning and like college being paid for, being Insta famous, and all this stuff.
Insta, yeah,
And
she wants to be big on Instagram.
right, and Tori hasn't even thought about college.
No, she hasn't. I guess it's a question. Is this like a foreshadow of Tori's fate next season? Maybe she ends up going to college. Is it just like a little character moment there? Like she's never even considered the future. She hasn't been able to think that far ahead.
I
Um,
think so. I think, like I feel we're gonna get a lot of like wrap ups with characters and their
mhm,
storylines, and I
right.
feel that is something that we can keep an eye on. That's something that she's never thought about, and maybe we'll see Tori, making that decision that she's gonna continue education and go to college.
What
Um,
would she study though? Like, I don't know.
maybe something medical because her mom's sick. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the the
That's a
the
lot. That's all the
healthcare.
sciences and stuff. Yeah. To get to there, you got to start with all the sciences and all that.
It's
But
a lot of
yeah,
work. It's a lot of
yeah,
work.
it is a lot of work.
And then she still has her brother Brandon.
Hmm.
So a lot of decisions. You know what I mean? So maybe not the medical field, but something.
Hmm.
I'm sure she'll figure it out. Then we go to the back of Miyagi Do, and is this? Yeah, yeah. This is still outside. So Smarty's no. Are they eating? No, that's not yet.
No, no, this is when they're coming in there in the morning to get ready. Um,
Okay. So something about Chris wanting to fill up a hot tubs with Smarties and Hotties. That should have been
Smarties and
more.
yeah, they were talking about how the last year's winners, and this is something I always it's plural. Last year's winners did a commercial in Korea, I think, was the
Was it a
they're
car commercial?
um I don't remember. It might have
And
been.
you know, but hey, some exposure, right? They're gonna get some
Yes,
exposure for the
exposure.
dojos.
Hmm.
And I do like how, they kind of talk about like, well, if Cobra Kai wins, then basically everyone around the world who studies under Cobra Kai are going to be bullies, right? Like, and they're going to have to go through what the rest of them went through. And Sam also counters that. Well, if Miyagi-Do wins, they'll be able to teach everybody how to defend themselves,
Hmm.
just like them. So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what's at stake here.
Yeah. This scene though, like there's things about this scene that actually annoy me. Like I just feel like they shouldn't be, because this is the one that starts off when Hawk is coming in with Miguel and Robbie, and he's like, "Did you see that video like of last year's winners? Like, who knew they could kick that high?" And like that's something that like at this point shouldn't be amazing to Hawk. Like, in fact, they should be able to kick this high if they're supposedly is good. Like kicking high is like also impressive, but like when you've been training martial arts, like it shouldn't be, you should be able to do that yourself. You've been stretching and working on your splits. Like that's just like, it's like something that like, I feel like it's like they're really amazed by it, but they shouldn't be at that point in their training. Um,
Mm.
so that's
I
something
well,
that kind of feel like,
Okay. I no, I could see that, but
yeah.
on the flip side of that, and obviously I've trained 0 days in the martial of arts, right? But I with the Instagram algo, I often get like these suggestive video clips, and I
Right.
see like people doing demonstrations and exercises in the dojos and whatnot, and I continue to be impressed, even though I've seen similar things like over the years, right? I'm like, oh wow, that's still pretty good, you know.
Yeah. The way they taught us, like it's like from a standing position you should be able to kick your leg out 90 degrees, right? And then as you lean back you can you keep that 90 degrees, and you can keep it higher and higher until the point where essentially you're leaning 90 degrees and your foot is essentially almost 180 degrees straight up,
Right.
like so I mean, like you would learn that, even it takes a long time to train and get to that point, but it shouldn't be something like he's never seen before. That's sort of like how I see it. It's like,
Yeah, I get
well,
it. I get it.
mhm,
No, you're right. Yeah,
mhm.
maybe it could have been something else. But you know what? We didn't see what he saw, so maybe um
That's
you know
true. Maybe they could
yeah,
tire,
because some
the
of those
jump kick. Yeah.
actual demonstrations, like some of these guys, they jump super high and they get that foot real high up in the air when they're doing, I don't know, maybe not necessarily stand still jump kicks, but yeah, some of
Right.
those
Well,
demos, they're
Hawk didn't
outrageous.
break that board
He
in
sure
season
didn't. He
4.
wasn't focused. He wasn't
Yeah,
focused,
there you
you
go.
know. But
Uh,
yeah.
th- yeah, there's one other thing that actually bothers me, and it's this one's maybe even a little bit more so. It's they Johnny and Daniel give that little prep talk, right? And then Johnny's like, "All right, let's," Johnny's really pumped, doing his way, and he's like claps his hand, "Let's move those asses." And then everyone breaks. He's like, "Let's move," and everyone's just sort of moseying on away, like the energy doesn't translate. And I'm like, "Oh, that's bad." Like if you no training. Johnny's like, "All right, let's move those asses." And then look at it. If you watch the scene, everyone just kind of walks away. Like everyone should charge. Like everyone's run into their positions or something. Like that's like championship dojo. Let's move those asses. Everyone charges. But he's like, "Let's move those asses." Everyone, okay, let's go. I'm gonna go over here. You're gonna go over there. Like no one's moving those asses.
It's
Like,
too early. It's too
oh,
early.
yeah, it's too, but like, and that's like I wish, whoever's like between the writing, the directing, you got to like pick up on those things. Like that's a transfer of energy and the enthusiasm of the students. Like, let's move those asses. Everyone's so excited. They're running to their positions and stuff, but like it doesn't happen here. And like, that's just something I see. Like I notice that
Hmm.
stuff and it just like, oh, it bothers me. Like, that's just like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that.
No,
You got to charge. You got to have that energy. Where's the fire? The
right, right,
fire.
right. Yeah, yeah. Lots at stake here. You guys don't want Cobra
Yeah.
Kai to
Yeah.
to be qualified, and not you guys. Okay, yeah, I
Hmm.
get it. I get it. Let's see here. This is also where let's see. Johnny asked Miguel about Sam, and things seem to
Hmm.
be going okay, so that's good.
Hmm.
And Robbie busts Johnny's balls here a little bit.
Yeah.
Say, oh, is this how like what was he say? Like, is this how like fatherly advice sounds like, or something like that?
Oh, right. Yeah, I think that's the exact line. Yeah, fatherly. And Johnny gets a little defensive, and there's like, I'm just screwed.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, kind of like
you know,
that. So yeah.
yeah, to the point where you can joke about it, right? Like that's a sign, like it's going well, where you can kind of make jokes about it and have fun with it. Um,
Yeah, I do
you know,
like Johnny's retort because, like clearly it got him. He's like, all right,
right.
now you guys got your shit together. So yeah.
Hmm.
And then we get a demonstration montage of each dojo's,
Hmm.
a little sit on the floor, screaming eagle. Now, I do not see, I mean, Chosen is also obviously, kind of assisting in the demo, but, not, I mean, yeah, I guess their senseis are a little bit older, so we're not going to see them doing any kind of like individual, flips or kicks or anything like that. So I guess a little
Yeah,
bit
they're
different.
also
I was
not
just
the
kind of
stunt
pointing out.
people. So,
That is true. That is very
yeah.
true. Screaming Eagle, I know that to be an amusement park ride, but what do you think about some of the early Miyagi-Do demos here?
Oh, I mean, I think it's like it's a great demo of Miyagi-Do, and I think as Daniel's explaining it there, we start with the defense and then move with the offense, which is just exactly from Mr. Miyagi in the movie. That's how he taught, and so no, I think it's good, and I like Chosen, kicking. I think it's Mitch and Chris um at them, and they block with sand the floor. So I think it is a great introduction of Miyagi-Do for the board here.
What do you think about their the sensei's clothing here? I kind of
Like the
wonder why not.
jumpsuits or whatever,
Yeah, I
tracksuits.
think I wonder if this is like a Frank's decision, as in like, well, they're gonna keep talking about how like they're unorthodox styles and they're unusual combining of different styles and things. You think maybe it's like, well, they're not gonna wear gis, we're gonna put them in something different. This is more for like performance and workout and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure here.
Yeah, it's gym clothes. You could say they're dressed kind of heavy for it's technically summer, even though they shot it in the winter time. So, but ignoring those sorts of things, I think like the Miyagi-Do, like Miyagi-Do has always trained outside, right? And usually doesn't have gis, right? Usually you are just in your whatever, like a gym clothes or something, workout clothes. So I
Yeah.
think that's even part of the Miyagi-Do. It's not like this formal in the inside in a dojo in a gi. You're doing something. You're outside. You're in the nature. You're just kind of in clothes maybe you would be wearing or just working out in. Um,
Yeah, I feel there's at least one scene for sure that they were all in like Miyagi-Do gis, and that was pretty sure it was in season four. It was sometime something
season
outdoors.
three, season
Was it
three.
season three? Okay, okay, yeah, because I remember using like an image and inserting Julie Pierce in a white gi back there standing next to Daniel.
Yeah, I think
So
that's season three,
you
episode
could be
eight,
right.
right? The good, the bad, and the badass. Where
It
they're
could be, yeah, where they find out, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they'll do it sometimes. Maybe when, yeah, it's a more. Gosh, why would it be formal just amongst them? Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Well, just a few questions here,
Mhm.
but I mean, I don't have them, but I'm just saying, like, so some of
Yeah.
these choices, yeah, it's kind of having me kind of question it a little bit.
Mhm.
And then we see the Cobra Kai students. Terry Silver kind of mentions that, oh, just throw them into the fire, and mentions how like Kenny Payne, he just joined like last year, is already one of their best ones. But like, what the hell is this thing that Kyler's doing, and what is it registering? Just like his how powerful his kicks are.
Oh yeah, so Kyler's part of it. I think like this demo, it'll register, yeah, where you hit, the strength. Um, maybe you can even detect what part of the foot you're hitting with, which is important. You got to like learn that. Are you hitting with the ball of your foot, the side of your foot, the heel?
Oh
Um,
yeah, no,
and
that's
so
absolutely
that'll affect,
important.
yeah,
It
that'll
it
affect strength and stuff. Mhm.
it's just like soccer, right? Like
Mhm.
there's obviously a science to it. You want the ball to go in a certain direction, you got to kick it at a certain angle, and
Yeah,
also the which part of the foot,
yeah,
So a lot of control there.
yeah.
Um,
And the
uh, uh,
motion capture can probably get his form too to make sure you have the form. So,
right.
so yeah.
And it kind of does remind you of like Rocky Four a little bit, right? When you
Mhm.
see Drago's stuff, and he has all these enhanced, machinery, and all these things. So, stuff that we haven't quite seen before. And Sam kicking watermelons. So I think that's a little bit stronger, especially with the hard shell and the water in there. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna take Sam over Kyler in the comparison here.
No, it's definitely more certainly visually exciting, especially if the watermelon were to splash all over your face.
Yeah, absolutely, which it does happen here.
Yeah.
Let's refer to him as the chairman. I don't know for sure. He
Guter is
him and
his name. Yeah, Guter technically, yeah, but yeah.
Gunther, is it
I
Gunther?
think it's Gut I think it's spelled Gutor. It's how I was spelling it. Guter, yeah.
Oh, Gunther. Okay.
Guter, yeah.
Um, and I don't even think I ever looked it up, but I know that he's the isn't he the bad coach from Mighty Ducks 2? I think that's what a lot of people are talking about.
Oh, is it? Boy, I think I don't remember that movie. I think I saw it once, but it could be, yeah.
Yeah. Probably my least favorite of the Mighty Ducks. Might be a hot take to some people, but
Hmm.
it's fun. But I prefer one and three. Three I think is the best overall movie. Moving on. I know I'm going to get flack for that. Anyway,
Drago.
yeah,
You got
Drago.
your
Yeah.
Drago, yeah. The Johnny Save It, and we get the Rocky reference and such. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we see a
mhm.
little look from Daniel, so he's kind of like relieved. Oh, good. This is gonna go in our favor just a little bit.
Mhm.
I also noticed that Sam is leading in one of the exercises, where, they're doing the strikes and stuff like that, kind of information. So,
Yeah,
taking
student
some
led.
leadership.
Yeah, right.
hmm
Yeah, I think
So
that was definitely part of the demo.
we didn't see that with Cobra Kai. So, and that's a little bit of a contrast, right, between the two lead women, on the respective dojos, right? Because
True,
Tory,
true.
completely different, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have? Organizers will select dojo based on the fights because this is just too close. They weren't able to really call it at this point. And they want the best fighters. Terry Silver selects Tori Nichols to go against Sam,
Mhm.
and Kenny to go against whoever they decide in the men's. Did you find that a little, maybe not puzzling, but like, okay, well, Sam, because she's literally like the only girl on that side, right?
Girl over there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So with the guys there's so many to choose from. Do you think it's kind of interesting that Terry didn't have like he himself couldn't decide like on the clear winner from that side?
Who would no, because I think Terry probably just sees it ultimately the way they saw it,
Too many
he
options.
knows, yeah, he knows Hawk is the champion. He knows Robbie Keane. Obviously, he trained Robbie last season, and then
Miguel was the first champion.
and Miguel, and he's saw Miguel at the tournament. He knows he's also a champion. So yeah, I think just
Yeah.
Terry Silver. It's just he's like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Which is probably just honest. Like I buy that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We now we see Tori goes to prison and visits her grandfather, Kreese, and this is where Kreese decides to kind of let Tori go and take care of
hmm
herself.
hmm
She's really upset by this because people have gotten hurt because of her. And do you think this is he's already made up his mind on how to escape at this point?
No, I think this is Kreese at his lowest. I think in the sense that like when we saw him the past few episodes, he's had like all this plan, and as like Tori even reiterates here that he was working on getting out early, and she was working on undermining and sabotaging Silver, and then like Silver was able to avoid getting sabotaged, and Kreese's plan of getting out early kept getting shut down.
hmm
So like I feel like but like I feel like we said so many times, this entire series is based on bad communication. Like I feel like Kreese didn't explain it to Tori what had happened. That like every attempt he was making on getting out got shut down, and even progress with that therapist in episode 6 ultimately isn't going to lead to an early release. And then his hope of like getting a new trial, Daniel was going to help him out with a lawyer, obviously got shut down. So like, but like Kreese doesn't say like, I can't go anymore. He doesn't really explain that, ultimately he can't go through with the plan because that part of it failed. So, he tells Tori, um, do what's right for you, right? So like, which I think is actually genuine. Like he's saying, just do what's right for you. But, it obviously upsets her, and he doesn't explain that, the plan isn't going to work now.
Right, right. Because he basically tells her as much, like there's nothing that they can do to get him out of there. So,
Right.
what's the point? Just save your time, take care of yourself.
Hmm.
So, after that, we go back to the LaRussos. They're having a pizza party. We are coming in during their second round. A little small for all those big boys that are still growing.
Oh, the pizzas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think they look like maybe 12-inch, 10 or 12-inch pizzas. Yeah, which are small, but that's a lot of times when you make those individual pizzas if you go to places like that. So yeah, definitely. Probably just how they buy the dough like that. Something.
Yeah. Chris mentions Honey's love a man that can eat.
Is
Haven't
that
seen him
true?
with one yet. I don't think so. Not to say
It's
that
maybe it
it's not
depends on the
true.
honey. Yeah, maybe it's just
Yeah.
it depends on the honey you're looking for. Yeah.
Because my honey, like I've been with her, we're what, maybe just a little under 2 months away from being together for 21 years. She feeds me well,
Mm.
and she loves me. I guess so in that sense, she loves me, a man that can eat. So, so
There you go. There you go. Yeah, if a man can't eat, he's not going to live long enough to.
yeah, absolutely. So I had
Oh boy.
quite a big meal yesterday,
Yeah, there
and
you go.
so maybe yes, there's some truth to that. Chris is a wise sage of
Yeah,
uh of the Miyagi Fang.
but they
Um,
they they are foreshadowing Mitch's sort of turn here.
that yeah,
Kind of,
yeah,
yeah. It's one of those things when you rewatch it, you don't get it the first time through, but like, oh yeah, they were foreshadowing it for half the season.
that's right. He's Chris mentions Honey's love a man that can eat, and there's too many sausages for Mitch here, and he too likes the ladies, but people keep calling him penis breath. So
Yeah,
can't get any ladies when you're being called penis breath by your peers.
yeah, that's probably true.
In the living room, Johnny has a sit down with Robbie, Miguel, and Eli. They talk about who should represent them. Johnny kind of recaps each of their bouts in the tournaments. Pretty funny there.
Hmm.
And he says there's three of them. How are they going to decide? And so Peak Johnny says, well, okay, we'll flip three coins.
Flip a coin.
So maybe
You
best
can roll
odds,
a
best out
die.
of three.
All you have to do is just roll. You can roll a 6-sided die and you can get it. But
I previously attended a Comic-Con where I saw a 100-sided die.
yes, they exist. If you've played Dungeons and Dragons, you may have seen it.
Oh, Dojos
Kind
and
of looks
Dragons, you
like
mean?
yeah, Dojos and Dragons. Kind of looks like a almost a golf ball, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, all those little.
Hmm.
Yep, yep. Really interesting. Oh, also, a little side note here. I mentioned the con. At some point, I will be doing a bonus episode, kind of recapping my weekend at the Fan Expo Portland 2023. So I had a lot of fun there. Things you can expect me to talk about: meeting the cast of Back to the Future,
Hmm.
meeting Rufio, played by Dante Basco, in Hook, and I also hosted a little Cobra Kai panel to talk about my journey, answer some questions about the show and play a little trivia. And
Oh, that sounds fun. Mhm.
yeah, I felt like I came up with a lot of underhand ones, and boy, were they struggling. So much so that I was really easy. I'm like, okay, that's close enough. I'll take it, kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
I had like 50 stickers, and I had a lot left at the end. I was like, okay, you guys all just come and just grab a bunch. Just
There you go.
yeah. So yeah, pretty decent turnout. I ended up being like the last slot of the evening. I did not know that, and so. I think that kind of explains that, a lack of attendance. So, but I had a pretty decent turnout and made a lot of friends, after all. So,
Mhm.
all right. So, let's see here. Where do we go? Okay. So we go to the backyard. Sam seems to be, locked in. She is kind of thrown back in here, kind of like the, Amy's synopsis mentioned. And, there's a little bit of talk here between Chosen and Daniel. They give
Mhm.
her a talk and kind of recaps their history. And he mentions how Daniel, was fighting for things, whereas he himself was fighting against, and that's why Daniel kind of came up on top on that. What do you think about this moment?
Well, there's a few things to think about it. First off, I don't know, like, sometimes we don't know something, and so we just kind of like fill in a little story in our head. Like, so for me, I had always thought, or basically after season two, when Daniel talks about how he was in Cobra Kai, and then Sam is like, um, you remember, and then Sam's like, "Oh, you never told me about that." And he's like, "Well, I don't tell you, didn't tell you everything." For some reason, I always moved on, and I thought like maybe Sam didn't know about Chosen and Daniel's fight. Like, like maybe Daniel didn't tell her that oh, one time I had this fight to the death. Um, like it always just saw like, well, maybe that's something he wouldn't go and tell his young daughter. Now it's possible like she's just learned over the summer. So I guess
Right.
I don't know, like when did she finally first learn about this fight? But Chosen talks about it as like, oh, you already know, you remember. Um, so like I don't know, it was like a little bit of a like, oh, I didn't know that. Like I didn't know she already knew. Because I guess I had just decided in my head that was something maybe Daniel wasn't going to tell his daughter. One time I was in a karate fight for my life and I almost got killed. Um,
Yeah, it's one of those things that
yeah.
like this is I was about to say different but same, but it's actually different but different. But
Yeah.
I had asked Michael, I was like, hey, how come Chosen didn't get like a like a lavish entrance? And he's like, well, he didn't get like a slow-mo or anything like that, but he got his entrance in season three. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Right.
Because I was just thinking like, Mike Barnes and Sensei Kim and the
Hmm.
Terry Silver, but Terry Silver shared the scene
Hmm.
with Sensei Kim, so I kind of get that.
Hmm.
But even Terry Silver didn't get like, a great introduction. We got the backside of him playing a piano, which is very different. But so what I'm kind of getting at is like they kind of talk about these things and be like, oh, well, they have their reasons and we just don't know. And
Hmm.
so kind of like what you're saying, Sam has already known this, and maybe to the writing team, right? They said, okay, well, at some point they may have bonded. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that
Hmm.
because kind of cut to a later sequence after Sam, kind of wins her fight with Devin. There's this moment that Chosen is just like, he's really happy for her and
Hmm. Hmm.
something Samantha son or whatever. So that tells me that there's a little bit more than what we've seen on surface,
Yeah.
between the two, because like rewatching that sequence and that embrace between the two, it gave me all the feels
Hmm.
because immediately made me think that's what it would have been like if Mr. Miyagi was still around.
Hmm.
And it got me a little bit emotional. So I
Hmm.
feel at some point they had already bonded as well. Sam came down for a late night snack and Chosen's watching, a rerun of 90 Day Fiance,
Hmm.
and he's like, oh, and she's like, what's your story?
Yeah.
Well, what other encounters have they had together? And so
Yeah.
I feel at some point they had a talk, and
That
unfortunately, it's
happened.
just
Yeah.
not a sequence we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
just hasn't happened. Now moving on to like his lesson himself, like I think like it makes a lot of sense.
Mm,
But he's talking about, I was fighting against Daniel, your father was fighting for. But then like I thought about it and like the way I think of like, but like if you think about Sam previously in the series so far, wasn't she also kind of like fighting for herself, back in seasons 2, 3, and 4? She was fighting for Miyagi-Do, for herself. Like she wasn't like ever fighting against, because part of what prompted this is she says, I feel like I'm right back to where I started. And he's like, well, and then Chosen tells his story, I was fighting against, he was fighting for. And like, but like, I think she was always fighting for Miyagi Do, for herself. In season 4, in season
right.
3, like when she see, the picture of Mr. Miyagi and she remembers her father. So she's fighting for her father, her sensei, for Mr. Miyagi, for herself. So I feel like he basically, he didn't actually address what she was saying because she is right back where she started.
Right.
Is that
Yeah,
good or bad? Yeah. It's,
I think, I mean, she's right. She's back where she started. And so like history repeats itself. I believe that's a song lyric. And, he wasn't there for her previous fights. And, this is like his speech, right?
mm-hmm.
Not knowing, maybe this is the exact thing that she's kind of gone through again. And, maybe what he has to say is, kind of serves more as a reminder, to
Yeah.
her. It's like, well, he's not saying it in those words, and maybe we can excuse it as of like, yeah, he wasn't there,
Yeah.
and he just needed to remind her. Well, yeah, as long as you continue kind of fighting, for something for
Or,
yourself, that
mhm.
you'll be okay.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's see here, and I
She
think
finds the
me,
necklace. Yeah.
yeah, you do you like this moment here? I feel like it might be one of your favorite moments. She finally finds the octopus necklace,
Well, my
drops the water bottle.
funny thing is that like they've been trading there and Miguel never even thought about it. Like, oh yeah, I dropped that necklace I couldn't even afford. Um, like
They were focused on keeping the egg from Chosen.
yeah, the egg and then the Sekai Taikai and all that, and no one
Lots
ever
on his
found it
mind.
until right
Lots
now.
on his mind.
Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess.
And destiny, fate, whatever you want to call it, has brought her to the necklace. So it eventually got to the right hands.
Yeah,
And
I
any of the other kids, they're like, oh, that's got to be Sam. She'll find it.
right.
That's why it's still there.
Yeah.
It's okay. Um, all right, we cut to the Cobra Kai flagship dojo. We see Kenny burning the midnight oil.
Hmm.
Silver comes down, tells Kenny about how before he started training for the way of the fist, they called him Twig because Kenny's, he's not too confident here.
Hmm.
He feels he's undersized, and he is. Obviously, doesn't have as much experience as any of the fighters that he could potentially be going up against.
Hmm.
But I feel that the director here, Mariel Woods, I feel like she saw the beautiful shot of Chosen in the previous episode, Bad Eggs, and tells
Hmm.
Joel like to hold my beer, because because the silver bullet here, I think, is just also an amazing shot. Slow
Hmm.
mo,
The wind up, like
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just yeah, it's really really great. What do you think
I
about the
like where
silver
he's
bullet?
starting the what you like that, right? Like,
Yeah,
like he
yeah,
just,
you like that? It kind
yeah,
of points like, oh, okay, you
yeah.
like that? Yeah,
A little
I think that's cute.
callback.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
it's
nice.
all great. Hmm.
Yeah, that was a really nice moment.
Yeah.
Is a clever name, obviously, play on
Hmm.
name.
Hmm.
Couple references that came to mind when I heard Silver Bullet. Obviously the '80s, was it Werewolf movie with Corey Haim? Yeah,
Yeah, I
Corey
was
Haim.
thinking, yeah, like werewolves or vampires or whatever, like the undead, kill
Right,
them with a
right.
silver.
There's that, and this
Mhm.
is, I'm sure, not one, but another one that came to mind was there's like a Coors that was in like a silver can, and I
Oh,
think like in the commercial, like there was like a train going through like mountains of snow or whatever. I think they kind of called that a silver bullet, not the actual beer, but like it was a
hmm.
nickname,
Hmm.
so just another one that I kind of remember. And this is also the idea of the silver bullet, right? He kind of demonstrates it to Kenny.
Hmm.
Kenny asks, like, what's the point? Like, if I already score a point, like, why do it in this manner? I kind of forget the way he asks, but this is what Terry says that kind of stands out, right? Because the shortest distance to victory in a fight is to take out your opponent with one shot.
One shot. Hmm.
Yeah, and I like that because having served in the military myself, and Twig obviously was also in the army.
Hmm.
There's one thing that they teach you is one shot, one kill. So just be
Hmm.
effective, be precise.
Hmm.
You take your enemy out with one shot.
Hmm.
So a little bit of yeah, some military here, but like it's just warfare, right? Just kind of like maybe not common sense, but yeah, do you
Hmm.
want to win, or do you want to leave like any kind of slack to potentially lose?
Right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it just kind of knocks the wind out of him, but it
Right.
looks lethal. It looks lethal. So
Yeah, definitely the way he pulls it off. Yeah.
totally. Do you have any issues with Kenny being able to learn this technique
Um,
so quickly?
to be able to learn it, no, I guess it's basically like a modified punch or something to the chest. So I don't think like learning it in one night is necessarily a big deal. Oh, one thing I was going to say is we talked last episode. Does Silver really believe Kenny can be better than everyone else, or was Kenny just his only choice? And like with this scene, I think it further emphasizes that I think like at least Silver in the show here really does think Kenny can be the top. Like Kenny really can believe be better than everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. He
Is
lists
he?
off the names of like
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
he could potentially reach
Mhm.
the ceiling of,
Yeah.
Lawrence, LaRusso,
Mhm.
Keenan Diaz.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
So,
Um,
but it's within Miyagi verse that you can learn a move in one
oh,
day
absolutely.
and get it
Yeah, yeah,
mastered.
yeah.
So yeah.
Jumping ahead a little bit, we see Anthony, with a white belt. Next time we see him, he's gonna have a black belt. So similar
Like I
thing.
said, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we cut to the Cobra Kai dojo as Miyagi Fang arrive. Bert makes a reference to a pop band called Cobra Starship. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did not. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
I thought he was just imagining like this dojo is like a starship with so much tech and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Cobra Starship is an actual pop band. But what Mitch is fixated on is that they got a smoothie bar. Doesn't think it's fair, and there happens to be a few girls over there that looks his way as well.
Hmm.
Sam and Tori, they exchange looks. This is also where Kim, she kind of instructs Tori to make this fight quick, states that she's beat her before. So, well, what do you think about the idea that, well, Tori, you did it before, so you can do it again? Do you think that's more of a reminder? Do you think that she believes in Tori?
I think she does. Like, and obviously, I don't think Kim doesn't know that the ref was paid off from the tournament. She knows she only knows that Tori won. Um, so like I think like Kim is just being genuine, being herself. You are better than her. I expect you to win. Make it quick. Like
Mm.
that seems like very much Sensei Kim.
Yeah, just matter of fact.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And let's see here. I wrote down, this is where Keen, he sees Anthony and then
Hmm.
well, Hawk first. Well, Eli. He sees Eli, they exchange looks, and then he sees, Robbie and Anthony together, and Kenny is upset. He's not having it.
Hmm.
And, but, he goes over to Robbie. First off, what did you think about Kenny's reaction to seeing Robbie there with Anthony?
Um, like I guess I mean it's so it's a moment that we see that Kenny is still obviously doesn't like Anthony, still hates Anthony, and then I feel like he feels betrayed by Robbie, right? So I think like Kenny's being feeling betrayed here.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does
Yeah.
because yeah, he's training the kid that once bullied him.
Right.
I understand that, and this is also where Robbie kind of gives him like, some sage advice. He's
Hmm.
just like, you're upset. This is, Cobra Kai talking, and if you just really get to know Anthony, you guys might get along. And that's also coming from somebody who didn't know that they had that common interest in the Dungeon Lord, right? Dungeon Lord,
Yeah.
you
Unless
know,
he picked it up off screen, he learned that off screen.
right,
But
right.
yeah,
So,
they don't have the.
and that's the same advice he gave to like Johnny, Johnny and Daniel, or was that Miguel gave that? Probably Robbie. It's a common
Okay.
thread, like
Yeah, it's definitely for most
you
of
can
them.
use it, I mean, you could apply that to Tori and Sam. Um, but yeah, this moment it did make me kind of dislike Kenny a little bit more as well. Just kind of the whole approach and the whole thing, like you're lucky that it's not you on the mat today. I guess Hawk will do kind of thing. And I remember my reaction, to the very first viewing of the season, and I thought that he was going to put Hawk out of commission, like in a bad way, worse than,
Mm-hmm.
than what actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought that, again, all the trolling that Hayden did on Twitter, I thought somebody was going to die, and then I was just like, oh, is he going to do something to Robbie? Oh no, it's Hawk. It's going to be Hawk. Something's going to happen to
Mm-hmm.
Hawk. Like Hawk's going to get hospitalized, so I was really getting like some sort of anxiety, in this
Ooh.
match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what did you think, I guess we won't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just kind of get into their fight. Kenny gets the first point, and then the next, I guess, round or the next round.
The
Um,
next point. Yeah, the next point.
yeah. On the next point, it's supposed to be Eli, but then the ref calls it out of bounds, and this is when Tory kind of notices something's a little fishy. And to take your prompt here, you wrote "fuckery is afoot" when the ref calls a Hawk point out of bounds,
Yeah.
which I really like that.
Yeah.
Now, um, I don't remember who found it first, so my apologies, but this is one of the refs from the tournament in season 4.
Yeah, I think he did some of the smaller the prelim matches.
Yeah.
He was a
So
ref on.
now the funny thing is the committee, the organizers, they reached out to like local refs, so so I guess it just sounds like Terry's got all of them in their pocket, in his pocket,
Yeah, it seems like it. He knows the All Valley refs, from the people,
right?
or he knew whoever they would recommend or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, Terry's over. He's always orchestrating. Oh, what was it that Drew from Last Row podcast said? Terry orchestrated events. So this is kind of one of those, right? Like
Mhm.
like one of my favorite moments as well. I didn't write it down. Is when they came to at the beginning of the dojo here, just a little bit before where we are at right now, and I think the committee kind of thanked Terry for hosting, and Daniel mentions like hosting or kind of suggesting or whatever, and Terry's kind of like, well, it's like a official match or whatever, or so really had no choice, like the
Mhm.
way he says it was like pretty petty, but
Mhm.
I liked it. I like that color on Terry. It's like, well, I mean, where are we gonna go to your guys' backyard on the sparring deck? Like it's
Yeah.
basically, you might as well have said that. So I
Mhm.
really did like that. Oh, I did write it down. You're lucky. No, no, no. It was really the only option. That's what he says. Yeah, the only
Mhm.
option. Um, so the next round, the next point, Kenny, seen the Karate Kid and busts at Johnny Lawrence.
Mhm.
And I, just because that it was something that Johnny did in the movie, yeah, it's a bit of a nod, right? But
Mhm.
you'd feel that they could have cut to like Johnny and Daniel, but I guess that kind of takes away from the moment, right? Because it's like, well, they're not rivals at this point, so what's the point of showing the reaction, right? It would be
Yeah.
taken away
And you're talking
from
about the elbow to the knee, right?
correct. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. Because like if you showed them, it would be more so like, hey, remember when I did that to you? But we don't need that right now, right? So okay,
Right.
never mind. I
Yeah.
retract. Um, and
Yeah.
then this is when Kenny busts
And I
out
think
the
the
silver.
funny thing
Yeah,
is he argues, or like Kenny gets a warning, and I think Johnny yells he should have been disqualified, which is kind of funny because like if that would be a disqualification, then Johnny should have gotten disqualified in back in '84.
he's
But
owning up to it now.
I well
Or I mean,
I actually think maybe like that's a situation. Maybe it is just a warning. It's not like a disqualify, like or something. So
rules, obviously could
yeah,
have changed and been amended over the years too. But
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, you're right. But I guess that just adds to more like, if Johnny is correct, then this is just adds more to the ref being, just more fuckery, right, with this ref.
Yeah, fuckery.
And yeah, so this is where we see also Kenny with the silver bullet,
Yes.
and hits Hawk and knocks the wind out of him. Do
Mhm.
you remember your reaction to this moment the very first time you saw it?
I mean, I guess obviously the way the episode is going, it's coming. Um, I feel like it's a little bit like forced, which maybe isn't fair because that's how the Miyagi verse works. But the thing about the silver bullet is in the end, it's still like a strike to the chest and it can be blocked easily. Like with a wax on, wax off can block it. It's not like the unblockable hit, like the crane kick. So like it always feels like it makes a lot like it makes sense in the Miyagi verse, but like if you think about it too hard, like it's like, well, he should have been able to block that. Plus, like the way it goes, he throws this really wide high punch, leaving himself open. Um, but so like it's like I get it like in terms of story and universe, it makes sense. And it is the silver bullet. This is Terry Silver's technique. So I get that.
Yeah, and Hawk has a forfeit because he can continue.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was really interesting, but like Hawk or Eli, he had a bit of a talk with Johnny and Daniel, and there's that moment where Hawk or Eli says, time to unleash the Hawk, and
Mm-hmm.
then following Kenny's victory, he's like, oh, now you're faux Hawk. So I kind of get kind of like how chronologically like how that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But like in my opinion, I think that would have been like a to take a, how the kids are saying it, a sicker burn, if like Kenny had trash talked before they first fought, right? Because then, in my opinion, I think that would have showed like Kenny's confidence a little bit more, already
Mm-hmm.
calling him out, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, look who I'm fighting against. It's Faux Hawk,
Mm-hmm.
for him to kind of come back out afterwards. I think that's more kind of like maybe Kenny wasn't so confident on the outcome of this, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
think the burn would have been better had he kind of started off with it,
Lead
my
with the
opinion.
burn. Yeah.
Lead with the burn, absolutely. Get in his head a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
then yeah.
Well, like, just on this fight, like, because I made a video on this, and like, I think like
Nerfed.
fans
What was
ultimately
the term? Nerfed?
nerfed. Yeah, that was something that a lot of people were saying. Like, and like I said, like the problem with the silver bullet isn't that like it's not a bad technique. It's just that it could be easily blocked. Like people feel like Hawk should have been better than this. And it's like the silver bullet is a way of taking Kenny, who's like this younger kid without as much training. He's shorter. He has like everything against him, and letting him win. And then also like there's so many fans that would have rather Sean been in that role, like,
Hmm.
and just having Sean in this fight instead of Kenny. It's just something that's been out there since season 3. And so like that's another thing that like so many fans just like would rather Sean, because Sean is big, he's scary. You could see him joining Cobra Kai and taking that role. Even though I don't think that was ever what they intended, it was always intended to be Kenny's story.
Yeah,
But
I agree with that.
yeah, I think like I just feel like there's just so much that happens. Like this is part of the reason like people just don't buy this fight, like, emotionally, and so it's just like it's just not as like emotionally a win. It feels like in order to get Kenny as the winner, they have to nerf Hawk and then give like Kenny a magic shot that can win.
Right, right. But on the subject of Sean, I would love to see him back in season 6 and kind of see, him share, another sequence with his brother instead of what we saw, what the end of episode two or
Yeah,
three
season
of
four,
season 4.
episode 2, first learned stand. Yeah,
Right, right,
yeah,
because that was
yeah,
the reveal. So I want to
yeah.
see
That was
that
the
tied
reveal.
up too.
Yeah,
So
and him with Robbie too. Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think it'll be good. Will we
Mhm.
see Sean fight? Probably not.
Probably
Probably
not.
not
Yeah.
because, like I've said this before. I'm not sure if it was on any of the episodes or whatnot, but I feel the finale of season 5. I think a lot of the tied up loose ends will probably kind of reduce the amount of those characters returning. We don't know how big dojos are supposed to be for the Sekai Taikai, but
Mhm.
it being the final season, I feel like we might have addressed this actually when the announcement came out.
Mhm.
Just that, yeah, it's like yeah, we've had a lot of these characters since day 1 or day 2, when if we want to like call those like the seasons, right? Season 1, season 2. A lot of characters came season 2, i.e., Tory, the Ginger Twins, things like that. Um, Maybe the finale of season 5 was a way to kind of say goodbye to some of those smaller characters, so we can kind of focus on like the main ones for the big world tournament. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. But if we keep bringing back people from previous seasons, like a Sean, then yeah, you're just going to be kind of oversaturating again, like the
Mhm.
dojos, which was, I'll call it. It was a problem that a lot of the fans felt we had because we weren't giving enough time to, the binary brothers, in
Mhm.
season 4 and things of that nature. So,
Mhm.
if we're servicing the fans and bringing back people they want to see, well, what about the other people? So it's just there's going to be some fine balancing in season 6 for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Any other comments about Eli versus Kenny?
Um, I mean, I think that's the main points.
Hmm.
Definitely, even like I get it. Like, so I'm fine with the fight, but I do know like there's a lot of fans out there, that just didn't react as like happily like to what happened. So
Yeah.
because partially, Hawk is a fan favorite, so I guess they don't, you don't want to see him lose, right? So
Right. Right.
mhm.
Yeah. And man, I can only imagine what's going to happen in season 6. Are we going to see like a lot of our heroes at really low points and kind of overcome that? So let's just keep
Classic
season 6. Yeah.
storytelling,
Yeah.
classic storytelling. You got to
Yeah.
be down before you can be on top, right? So
That's right. That's right. I mean, we saw Daniel that in season 5 just a few episodes ago.
right. Hmm.
So, all right, Sam versus Devin because Tory took a page out of Miguel's book and leaves before her turn.
Hmm.
And Devin's intimidated, right? She has to go up against a champion. And the funny thing
And
is, like,
she didn't train, right? Too, she's also being thrown into the fire, so
that's
to speak,
correct. Right, right.
which
Yeah.
Terry
Well,
said they do.
yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like, well, that's what they do with their students, though. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just you just got to be ready. You just got to be ready.
Hmm. Hmm.
And my thing was that I like how Sam's just kind of like standing there, like doop 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 doo doo. So I guess I'll just wait here. Like I just wonder, like, why wasn't Sam kind of like trying to be focused, locked in or whatever? She's just kind of like, okay, I guess I'll just wait because I don't see Tori, kind of
Hmm.
thing. And
Yeah.
so that was my observation, kind of like you've had yours with
Hmm.
some of the other things there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Did you have an opinion on Sam's kind of headspace at this moment, based on her
Um,
like physicality?
no, I didn't really think of anything like that. I guess I just took it as it is. Like there's confusion all around. So I guess you would feel like that way. You step forward for your fight and then your 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 arch nemesis is no longer there. Like what happened? So
I mean, that's good for her, right? Because
yeah,
like she
right.
doesn't know any of these other
Mhm.
girls,
Mhm.
except for Devin. So all right. So the first point was the first point where Sam kicks her above the shoulder.
The ref calls it above the shoulder.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
so this is my thing. Like I feel Devin has a height advantage, so that's not really fair. Right? So like wait, so how do you call that? There's no way unless I mean obviously Sam could probably kick that high, but I just felt that Devin's slightly taller and so this is just one of those things. So how come earlier Tori noticed something fishy. But then we cut to the organizers who also seem to kind of question certain things and look at one another. Like, couldn't they also like, yeah, you guys hired a ref to call these fights, but you guys evaluating these dojos, couldn't you guys also kind of note like something's fishy about Cobra Kai here as well? Like, are they not picking up on these things as well?
Yeah,
Or
I
do you,
think yeah. I mean, you're right. Like the this is like probably like what just one of the biggest reactions from like just fans everywhere I see is like everyone's just like, well, the ref is so biased. Like in it does. There are a couple reaction shots of the board like looking to each other, like, that seems like an interesting call. Like, there aren't too many, but there's like one or two of them. But yeah, how does the board not notice this? Like, and I think,
I mean, because there's a few different things there. There's a number of the members. Obviously,
mhm,
I mentioned that I would think that some of those members are also fighters because it is one of those things, right? Like if you can't have a committee
mhm,
of non-experts, right? Like these,
right,
they may be experts in certain areas, but like if you were not a fighter yourself, actual fighters, they would take. If I was a fighter and I had somebody evaluating me that had no experience in fighting, I'd be like, well, what the hell do you know?
right,
Like
yeah,
you're just reading a book, of instructions and like you can't just go off of that, right? And
mhm,
so, you can argue like, okay, well, the other thing is where they're sitting, this isn't like a broadcasted fight, so you're not going to have different angles to see what the
mhm,
ref is, could see
mhm.
up front in personal. So they kind of have to go by what the ref says, right? But so the
Yeah, but
confusion,
like, yeah, I mean, they're behind the ref. Like, I think they
yeah.
can still see the fight for the most part. Yeah, and like and I don't know. Like, I went in my video like a whole different thing that like, that maybe if the refs had made a different decision based on what or not the refs, the board had made a different decision based on what they saw or something. But I guess they don't address that the bad ref or something. I mean,
Right,
that's,
right,
but like, here's the thing. Like, I'm sure you've seen amongst just the fandom everywhere, people talking about how like the bias ref is so ridiculously obvious. Like, have you
right.
ever seen anyone try to, like justify it? It's like, no, it makes perfectly sense. The board wouldn't know that the ref was biased or something. Like, have you ever seen anyone take like the other position and like try to justify like the way the show presents it or something? Um,
Yeah.
that like I haven't. So that's just like it, because usually someone will always argue the other side. But I just feel like it's just kind of like a question mark, and like and I think I said like it even kind of makes you question the Sekai Taikai. Like if the people running it don't notice like bad reffing and stuff like this, then what does that say about the tournament as a whole? Like,
Yeah. Because they're the ones who are being sent to go observe, right?
right?
So
Yeah.
it's not like, we'll just pick our interns. It's
Yeah.
not that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they all look, of a certain age that has, some experience. I would hope.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, but there's a great point here that obviously, everybody, Miguel, Sam, they all was like, wait, no, that's not right. Like, she mentions that she kicked, below the shoulder, but there was another thing because let me see, I know Kenny and Hawk was the one with the out of bounds, right? Yeah.
But no, I think there's also an out of bounds in this in Tory Devon too.
Or
Um,
Sam and Devin. Um,
or yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Sam and
but
Devon.
the point of this was the make every point undeniable. So
Right.
so so
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You got to be precise with your strikes and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they can't call against them. I like how Chosen's like, yeah, the ref is a moron. So like they're all seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what the hell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and only Tori's the one who's like, oh God, Terry Silver. So. So Sam takes that advice. She makes every point undeniable and
Mm-hmm.
comes out a victor. I like the celebration here. There's a lot of embracing. Miguel hugs her,
Mm-hmm.
and there's look exchanges. I mentioned earlier how Chosen, is happy for her. That makes me warm inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this was also interesting that Devin, she felt that she kind of let them down, but Sensei Kim, she blames Tori for the loss. She wasn't a good leader. She kind of left everyone. So I agree with
Mm-hmm.
that too, though.
Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. And so yeah, she mentions Tori's not ready to lead, and this is where we get Kim. Sensei Kim basically is gonna I guess she's kind of decided on Devin being the next person that she's gonna take under her wing.
That's true. Yeah.
So here we get the results from the committee. They choose Cobra Kai to be the dojo that qualifies,
Mm-hmm.
but then they also extend the admission here to Miyagi Fang. Um, I like Kyler's I like Kyler's like facial reaction here. It's very much like in all caps WTF. Like what the fuck? Why them? Like we won. We won, bro. Hand me those protein snake bites, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like a stank. Like what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's really funny. Um, let's see, Johnny. Yeah,
Let me jump it back in on the Sam Devon. I feel like one thing that like the fight doesn't have his emotion behind it because Sam and Devin have no history. So I think that's like another thing that's just like emotionally, like there's no stakes the way there is with like Sam and Tori. And something like the writers always talk about, well, we're looking at like the story behind the fight. It's not just the action. What is the story behind the fight here? It's not because it's not like there's nothing personal between them. So I think it's a little bit more shallow. It's just more of like Devin wants to be, do impress Sensei Kim, and obviously then we have Sam on her side, everything that she talked about with her parents the night before. So,
yeah.
but there's nothing directly between them.
Right, right. I think this is definitely one of those examples that you're right. It's
Yeah.
definitely a way to we needed the fight to continue. They have no other character right now for Sam to go against, so it had to be Devin.
Right. And by the
And
way, like this
right,
is also why I think Piper isn't in the season because they established Piper as like a good fighter and all that. And the problem is if they had Piper standing right there, all the fans would be like, well, why didn't you have Piper fighter instead of Devin? So like I think the writers worked around that problem just by not having her there. So it's like
That's a good
that's what
point, but
yeah.
what if it was Piper? Because I mean, that's the thing with so many characters, right? Because
Right.
it hits differently if Piper was doing the Devon things, right? Like if Piper was at Topanga and then switched to Cobra Kai, well, I don't think we were invested in the Piper character like that in
No.
season 4. So that's why you do that with Devon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
So after Miyagi Fang being admitted, they are asked, what is your dojo name? That's
Yeah.
all they need at this point.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting that Johnny, he's the one that steps forward first. Like we're Miyagi-Do.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Johnny stepping forward first and claiming that?
I think it's just maybe Johnny acknowledging that the history is there. Like he talked about Shrimpo Sensei. I think did we skip that when we were talking about the
Yes.
montage? Yeah, we did Shrimpo Sensei,
Yeah.
which was a great Johnny moment. But like I think it is like that. Um, I think it's a great moment for both of them because like Johnny steps forward, Miyagi Do, he's acknowledging Daniel and all of that. But then, Daniel now in his moment steps forward. Well, not so fast. We'll decide later.
So because of that, I
Mm-hmm.
feel that we'll get the name of the dojo like early in season 6, right? Because if they need to know soon and start training and all that, right? We have to have a reveal, or do you think it'll be revealed like the second half, like in season 4? Or when I say second half, I meant
I
like the Eagle Fang geese. We didn't see that
right,
until,
right.
yeah.
I think I think they may hold it back until they show up to the Sekai Taikai. I don't know what episode that'll be, but I think they'll hold it back, at least until then.
I
Um,
wonder, you know how you question like, why is this episode called Takai? What if in episode 8, season 6 is called Sakai?
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's where
there
we
you
get the
go.
reveal.
There
We
you
get the
go.
reveal,
Yeah,
even though it's kind of backwards.
yeah.
But this is the world where we're introduced to all the dojos of the world that are a part of this
Hmm.
tournament. So
Right.
maybe that's why. So we'll see.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't planned that way, we already put that into the internet.
Hmm.
So,
There you go.
um, all right. So do you have anything before we go to the party?
Um, no, I think that's it for now
Okay.
for this part. Yeah.
So Johnny says that he's taking Carmen and Yaya out, and so why don't you guys go celebrate? And so they have a party at the Diaz's.
Hmm.
This was an interesting moment here where I think it was Miguel that kind of asked Hawk about his hair, and he had washed out all the green. What do you think about that? What do you think what's in
Some
Eli's
people were rooting for Green for a long time, and they had it for one scene. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I guess Eli decided the Green doesn't work for him. So
I don't know if it's necessarily the green, but when he kind of, he had no platform to hop on, right? Like in the previous tournaments kind of thing, and
mhm,
didn't rip off his blouse or anything. So he did the little swoosh with his faux hawk, right? And it's like, time to unleash the hawk. And
mhm,
so maybe because of his loss to Kenny, it's like, well, you know, I am not my hair, right? Like the hair doesn't define me. So, and maybe that little sick burn afterwards, calling him faux hawk, maybe he was a little embarrassed by that. It's like, okay, I thought I was
I
tough,
gotta change it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
maybe that's what it was. So,
mhm,
so that's kind of interesting there. I'm kind of curious behind that. Um, and this is also where we get, let's see, Penis Breath. He is checking out some of the girls, and Hawk calls him Penis Breath because some girls walk in. They said that they just want to drink, and he's talking about that Sekai Sekai. And I just love
yeah,
how the girl's like, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, kind of thing.
yeah,
And then I guess Eli tries to hook Miguel up here with this young lady.
yeah. Who I guess because yeah, Hawk says that he invited people from East Valley, right? And if you
Right.
remember back in season one, how Kyler described the East Valley girls, so I think Hawks had this plan.
I wonder if because Miguel told Johnny that him and Sam are good. Does
Mhm.
Eli know that? because Eli was there, to help out choosing that necklace and, the whole line about like, it was cheaper with less tentacles, kind of thing.
Right.
Peak Eli there.
Hmm.
Um, so I just thought it was interesting, like, but they're at a party, but like, just taking an L as being a wingman here. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. But they're celebrating. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what really to take, but I guess why do you think we needed to see Sam show up and see Miguel with another girl?
Why did we need that?
Yeah,
Um,
because like I spoke with Michael who wrote episode 9, which will be coming up next, and
mhm,
because I kind of asked him about the Sam and Miguel in season 5.
mhm. Yeah, he said they had this what it was. It was like a plan that they were always going to break up, and I trying to remember specifically what he said that,
Yeah, I'll have to
and then
listen to
they
that
come
part for
back
the next
together.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think like story wise, they're trying to just create a little bit more drama. Um, put Sam in a tough spot. Where then she goes out and then she can run into Tory too. So like I think so Sam is kind of like emotionally devastated. Um, because apparently buying her a necklace is all she needed. I don't know. Like I don't think you mentioned you asked him about that, but like so it's like the key to Sam's heart, a gold necklace with an octopus on it, because
Oh yeah, I
that's what
mean,
it seems like.
so many things I was unable to ask because
Yeah,
we had a hard out
yeah,
for when
mhm,
I had to let him go. So
yeah,
it eventually could have gotten there, right? Because
mhm,
because of where his episode starts off is
mhm,
just right after this.
mhm,
Chris bumping into Sam, calling it a party foul. Obviously, that alerts Miguel. So, like in my mind, trying to put myself in Miguel's shoes, it's like I don't think he was like really into the girl. It's just like it was just happening because like I felt if he was really into it, maybe he doesn't hear Chris say something like that, But the fact that Chris says Sam, Miguel's like, oh shit, Sam's here,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I think and I think Sholo played it like that. I don't think Sholo was trying to play it like he's not really into her.
Mhm.
But then the girl was supposed to be really into him.
Right.
Um, so like I definitely think that was supposed to be the thing. Like, Miguel really wasn't into this making out on the couch, but then Sam jumps immediately and sees it, and so like I think like so yeah, that's the thing. I've seen a lot of like fans talk about like, hey, they broke up. Why is it bad that like he was doing that? But like I think like the intention is that he wasn't really into it to begin with. Um,
Hmm. Right.
yeah.
Right. Just celebrating. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
alcohol is involved and whatnot.
Mhm.
So Sam, upset, deservedly so, steps outside, is probably calling an Uber, and this is when
Oh,
Tory
by the
shows
way,
up.
why do you
Yeah,
think Sam took an Uber and not drive her own car?
you know what? I was
Like,
gonna ask you the same question and decided against, but here we are. Um,
I thought like, well, you go, you tell me what you think.
I was just thinking, she's being responsible. They got admitted into the Sekai Taikai, going over there, and so she thought she's gonna go and go out and have a good time, and just assume, yeah, if there's gonna be drinking, I don't want to drive home underage.
Mm-hmm. Because I thought like maybe she wanted her car there as like at home as like a decoy, and she would spend the night, like so,
Hmm. Interesting.
because that's and then that's why she's even more devastated because she's got this all planned out in her head, and then that's why when she sees Miguel with the other girl, then it kind of even magnifies this sort of devastation and
Interesting.
feeling of rejection or something she was feeling.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking that way at all because I mean I'm not sure if Sam knew where like Johnny, Carmen, and Yaya went, but depending where she thought she was gonna sleep, obviously they were gonna be coming home at some point.
Hmm.
She's spent the night at Johnny's one time,
Hmm.
so unless let's see if Johnny ended up spending the night with Carmen, that leaves the other apartment, but then Miguel would have to leave to Johnny's with Sam.
Hmm.
I don't know, a little complicated. I just assumed because it was going to be drinking involved.
Yeah,
I like
that's
to
the
think of
more
her
socially
responsible. Yeah,
responsible. Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, Tory kind of shows up like the Western Union guy at the end of Back to the Future 2, and it's like, hey, we got a letter for you. Except for that it's just a message that no, you
Like the
actually didn't
mail
lose.
carrier in Cobra Kai too. Like
Okay, yeah, or Karate
or
Kid
no,
Part 2.
says
Yeah,
Karate Kid
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Karate Kid
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. She tells her that she's not here to fight. She just want to let her know that she actually didn't lose the All Valley. Technically, she did, but I don't know. Do you think it could have? She could have actually said something else. Do you think that was actually more shocking for her to say you didn't lose the All Valley?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I think the line is specifically chosen for that sort of shock value. Obviously, she could have. She could have just said everything's rigged or something.
Yeah, no. So yeah, Tori shows up and it's like, no, I'm not here to fight. The All
Mhm.
Valley was rigged. Doesn't have the
Yeah.
same punch, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, like,
Yeah,
I mean, definitely, it's the more people speak in the most dramatic fashion, right? So,
right. The other thing is like, I guess Tori's also kind of admitting like, had it not been for that, she probably would have won. Sam, that is.
yeah, they're definitely putting that thought process in there.
Yeah,
At least there was no true winner. Hmm.
right. And that's it. And we get the end snake.
Hmm.
So that's the end of that episode. Yeah, at this point we will definitely get into the feedback. Did you had any kind of like last thoughts about that episode? I mean, it's a
Um,
hell of a cliffhanger too.
yeah. So when Tori goes to Sam and tells her that, like as we were just saying, she says this. Do you think like that was the right move for Tori for her to actually do that?
I mean, it's hard to answer because like the way it's staged and written,
Hmm.
obviously
Hmm.
it's shocking because like
Hmm.
I think any other option the scene doesn't play out
Hmm.
this way. I
Yeah.
don't know if that answers it for you.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think like a lot of people, I know, like a lot of people were really happy about her. But then I was thinking, is there someone in this episode who told her to do what's right for her?
Yes, you did. You're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah. Because that's the last. Well, no, the last time we saw her, she left
Okay.
right before her fight, and then before
Yeah,
that was when she saw Kreese.
Carice. Yeah, because the reason I point that out is because like there's a lot of people who think like, oh, Kreese is such an asshole in that scene, and like I always look at it as Kreese is like this is very genuine Kreese. He's telling Tori, do what's right for you. Don't worry about me. Focus on your own life. And I
Yeah,
think maybe on some level she does that. So like while Kreese, there's bad communication in that scene. Like I think like this is Kreese as genuine as you would see him trying to do what's best for Tori. Like I
yeah.
don't think
He
it's like a sign of how horrible he is.
No, not at all. Like, if
Yeah.
anything, like he was purposely being cold because he knew what he was doing. It was calculated.
Yeah.
And when she walks out, you can see his reaction. He puts his head down a little bit, like he didn't want to do that, but he told her that for her.
Hmm. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that.
All right. So we solicited some feedback in the group, and as always, if you guys want to leave feedback, we have two episodes left, 9 and 10 of season 5. You can do so in our group on Facebook. The first one comes from Jeff. He just wanted to mention a quote here. If I can change and you can change, everybody can change. So again, some more Rocky Four references here,
Mhm.
which also comes up again. And was it Johnny says like this guy gets it. It's like yes, I do. So they're so similar in that vein where kind of like the Olive Garden, right? Like uh where the server says something like that, like yeah, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Yes, I do. It's like that.
Yeah.
Dorian has a few bullet points here. He says, I really wanted to see a Tory Sam rematch. I think many of us did. Daniel throwing a shade at Silver or honesty isn't exactly Cobra Kai's strong suit. He says, I knew Eli was about to lose to Kenny when they didn't play Quiver. Hmm.
It's true. It's true. They did
Yeah,
play
yeah,
the hawk screech or whatever when he
they
unleashed the
did.
hawk. Yeah. But they
That's
didn't play
interesting.
quiver. Yeah. The funny thing is I mentioned after season 4, I think Zach Robinson actually jumped into my like live stream reaction, and
Oh wow.
I mentioned to him like he was just in the chat, but like I mentioned like how like Quiver has almost become Hawk's theme song because almost every time they're playing it, like in season 3 it was when Hawk switched sides, and then in season
Right.
4 they play it in the tournament when he's fighting Kyler. And it was like, and Zach, I don't think Zach thought of it like that. He's just like, well, yeah, it's just become kind of like the general theme or something. But yeah, I
So
think
you
it's kind
ruined
of,
it. This is your fault.
I think, yeah, I don't think they played Quiver at all this season.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it has almost kind of morphed into Hawk's theme song based on how they used it in seasons 3 and 4. So,
Yeah. I mean, I must admit a lot of my viewings come at nighttime when like the family's asleep. So I don't often have it loud enough that I can pick up on like the actual music cues,
mhm, mhm,
you know? So yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. So there you go. He finishes off with, I must hand it to Tory, walking away from a fight to guts. Yep. Miguel did
absolutely.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah, like this is a big deal,
Mhm.
to Cobra Kai and the moment that she does it in. So, both times a competitor has walked away has been during, the worst points. So it's all about bad timing in this Miyagi verse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, the next one comes from Philomena. She says, it has one of my favorite scenes where Sam is with Chosen and Daniel and Chosen give Sam some advice. I was fighting against, your father was fighting for. Yeah, another
Hmm.
great moment. Just anything
Right.
more Chosen. Cisco, he says, Amanda LaRusso, karate adjacent, always makes me laugh. Also enjoyed the party scene at the end. Yeah, the curtsy. Dorian mentions the curtsy too. That's just
Hmm.
great. I thought that was great.
Hmm.
Yeah, Courtney just has great timing for sure.
Yeah. I like the moment, like there was a lot of enthusiasm, like you can imagine, like there was a lot of enthusiasm. They all had this plan getting in there. And then once they start talking, like Amanda's like, oh shoot, what am I doing here? Karate adjacent. Like she's like going with it. Like,
It's true. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just, oh, why? I guess I must say something myself.
Yeah.
But yeah. The next one comes from Anne. Her first point, she mentions karate adjacent.
Hmm.
Amanda is the audience, but not all of us, of course, and her curtsy was the best. Number two, how long was that behind the scenes footage of the next generation, in parentheses, Sholo, Tanner, Jacob, though one of them might have been a stuntee in that footage doing the Screaming Eagle been around. Anyone know what I'm talking about? I feel like it came out 2 years ago, but what is time anymore? Anywho, it came out before season 5, so it's nice to finally see it in the show during the dojo montage. Just skipping ahead a little bit, I know at some point she reshared exactly what she was just talking about. I think she also sent that into the Cobra guys about it. Number 3, I continue to love Daniel and Chosen's friendship, and his fighting against, fighting for retelling of the death match was lovely. So everyone seems to really like that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Chosen
Number
Daniel.
4, Robbie and Miyagi Do Gi. Yeah. Well, yes, we've seen him in a white gi before. First time. Did we see the back of it? Did we see the back of it
Oh,
this time? But
oh, this time, but
they all have
it
the
was
belt,
the
right?
season 4 geese this time. Um, yeah, the
Right,
belt.
right, because he was in the Cobra Kai, but in season 1 he was in a white gi, which is close, but I get it.
Yeah,
Officially in a Miyagi
and
Do
in
gi.
season 2 when they were at the Valley Fest demo,
Mm-hmm.
they did have the white geese with the, I think it had the back patch on it.
Patch. Okay.
But it didn't have like the the
The
bandana part of
Lotus.
it. Yeah,
Right,
the
right, right.
lotus. Yeah, that part of it.
That was new
So
in
it was
season
like
4.
slight,
Yeah.
yeah. So like that's why like this is like his first time in that season 4 Miyagi no Gi.
Right, right. 5, I love Chosen encouraging Sam in Japanese Okinawan, and those undeniable points were badass.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Number 6, deprived of another LaRusso hug when the committee told Miyagi Fang that they also qualified. Everyone is hugging, and we only get a fist pump between Johnny and Daniel. I call shenanigans. Did you pick up on that too?
I did not know, but I get the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Number 6, Johnny telling, she has it as Gunther. So she has the end in her. So we'll have to double
Gunther.
check. Yeah,
Well,
Gunther.
Gunther, that may be right. Maybe I was
That's more
wrong there.
common, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the character in Friends, he's Gunther. Johnny telling Gunther, that we are Miyagi-Do was perfect until Daniel's, hey, we are Eagle Fang. I get it, but really take the win, Daniel. I know, see, I agree with that one. Yeah, just take the win. Just take the win. We'd be like, you know what? We'll discuss it later. That's how he should have approached it.
Hmm.
You know, yeah, no, I actually agree.
Yeah.
Philomena, she says a few things to Daniel, or not to Daniel, to Anne. I was just reading some of it. She mentions Daniel, but I'll just leave that to her reply to Anne. I won't reread that. David M. He says, Drago. That is all. Yeah, no, he literally says that is all also.
Hmm.
So yeah, point taken. Jen, she says the one member that Johnny bonds with is the villain for Mighty Ducks 2. I recognized him right away. And I didn't like, I saw people talking about it when that episode came up, and I was like,
Is that the
I don't
same
see it.
actor or just the same name?
It's the same actor because the other
Oh,
one, I believe he went to Iceland and then became the coach of the ice team from Iceland.
yeah. You know what? I think it is Gunther too. I think I was just misspelling it.
Okay.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if that's like stunt casting where like, oh well, he was the villain in Mighty Ducks, so let's bring him back and make him this board member. I feel it would have been a little bit more on the nose if there was something to it. But that's just maybe a little fun there,
Mhm.
for the people that grew up in the 80s and 90s. Mike P, he says if they ever do a Cobra Kai spinoff, I hope it's the story of Shrimpo Sensei. I agree. I agree.
We may get it. Like that's something that I would say is in the cards, you know?
I hope
Um,
so. I
at
hope
some
so.
point. Yeah.
I would like to see those cards. The next
Yeah.
the next one, Randy C. He says after Samantha wins her match, I love that Chosen addresses her as Samantha-san. I think this may be the first time Chosen has ever directly addressed the children on screen, but I think that adding "san" to her name was a subtle but very sweet way of showing ultimate respect. I agree, and
Mhm.
maybe maybe there's something to what I was saying earlier about them having shared a moment or moments before. We just didn't get to see it because it was off screen.
Mhm.
Um,
Hey, I just looked it up. Yes, that actor, D2, he played Wolf.
Wolf, yeah.
Karsten Karsten Norgard, I guess. Norgard. Um,
Hold
played
on,
Wolf in
what does
D2.
she say again? I remember the villain from Mighty Ducks too.
Yeah.
She says the villain, but I don't remember the coach's like name, but I know there's a point where they say something like, "Oh, they call him the dentist for like all the teeth he knocks out." So I don't
Uh,
know if I'm mixing up the sequels to the Mighty Ducks, but I mean, I'll you pulled that up, and so I might be mixing up my details is what I'm getting at.
mm,
But anyway, for Mighty Ducks too. So Randy continued. Maybe this is more a question for when you review the season finale, speculation for season 6, since Taikai opens the world up to a more international scale. Do you think that this might provide the opportunity for at least a passing reference to the Jackie Chan, Jaden Smith world? I couldn't care less about the kids from that movie, but I think a brief but cordial meeting with Jackie Chan's Han character would be cool. P.S. I request that from now on you refer to me as being karate adjacent. Um, Randy, yeah, thank you for your feedback. Watch Party, if you want to add to this, um,
the Jackie Chan, they could always maybe get Jackie Chan as a guest star. I don't think he would play Han, but maybe he plays himself. As like as the Carrie Underwood of the Sekai Taikai, like
right, right.
in introducing, Jackie Chan or something. So, those I guess those options are there, but I don't think they will introduce Han as the character.
Right,
They
right.
seem to have made it very clear they don't want to go down that road. So,
Right. Sorry. Now I have my toddler sitting in here because the wife is getting breakfast ready. So my apologies. So this is one of the big reasons why I don't do the mornings because I never know when something like this will happen. Nope, that's Daddy's microphone. Okay. So yeah, you're right. They've already mentioned that that's not canon, but yeah, perhaps a guest cameo as himself. For sure,
Mhm.
but definitely Dre and Mr. Han do not exist in the Miyagi world.
Mhm.
So the next one comes from JS. Apologies, everyone, if you guys can hear my son. Jay says, Watch Party was correct.
This guy's smart.
Yeah, yeah. He started off with
Just
Watch
just
Party.
end it
Yeah,
right there. Okay, there
Watch
you
Party was
go.
correct. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Um, was correct about Kenny from last episode. He took the words right out of my mouth. Just not sold on him being the top bad student. And with Devin, it seems like they're forcing her to be Tori's BFF, and it just doesn't seem authentic to me. Just my opinion. It's cool with what they did with Rocky 4 references, both the scenes and the dialogue. Pretty cool. Also, Unchained was a perfect song for that whole thing. Oh yeah, the montage. Yep.
Mhm.
The scene with Sam and Miguel during her match, she just gives Miguel this look. I can't really explain it, like she knew she loved him. I think I know what he's talking about. I think people have shared that on Twitter quite a bit too. Um, and he ends it with, but the very last scene where Sam saw Jackson,
Samsaw
uh,
Jackson. Wow.
yeah, saw Miguel and that girl kissing. Kudos to Mary Mauser. I mean, she really looked heartbroken in real life, even
Mhm.
though I tend to agree with some of the stuff Watch Party's videos about her. She just wanted to, plus some other things. I felt really bad for her, and that's because Mary crushed that scene. Definitely one of
Mhm.
my favorite episodes of the series for sure. Thank you, Jay, for that. So,
No, he's
yeah.
right. Like it really nails it. Like, which is why, like, I even think of it like going what's her plans and intentions going over there. She's like fully committed to this, and then it kind of has her heart ripped out a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
And and it just kind of a reminder. These actors, they have been playing these characters for what is it, 2003 now, for like, almost
five
seven
seasons, yeah.
for 5 seasons, about 6-ish years. So they've had the skin on for quite some time, and so I think they got these characters down, and so I don't know if I know any of the characters to still kind of be like I don't really quite buy them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like so I think yeah, she really owns that character, and you start to feel for her now. Like I feel there's still some people who are maybe not necessarily like Sam haters, but they just might be more like I don't feel like Sam would say something like that, or I don't feel like Sam would do that kind of thing. But I
Mhm.
think people have maybe slowly start to come on board on Sam a little bit now.
Yeah, I mean the show moves on.
Yes,
That's what you got to always
part of an
remember is,
arc, right?
yeah, right. Mhm.
Or roller coaster arcs, even. And Anne ends it with not necessarily a feedback, but she found that the clip that she was talking about just previously, and so she shared a link in the thread, and also the timestamp of when it was. She said it was posted in September 2020, and some of the screenshots, yeah, it's Sholo, Tanner, and the I'll just say Eli, Jacob, basically in those poses, from doing the Screaming Eagle. So we
Oh,
finally got to
mhm,
see it in season 5.
mhm.
So there you go. So it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up, you guys. That is the feedback for Tekai tournament, aka tournament, for episode 8. Thanks everybody for leaving that. Apologies that it's been almost a month since the last review. Again, a lot of unexpected things happened. It's all about, I mean, I guess Miyagi-verse has bad timing, and so do we sometimes in life. I
Yeah.
mean, my 2-year-old son's in here during the recording. But anyway, we hope to get the review of episode 9 out obviously sooner than later. I know I say that every time, but hopefully, just to put pressure on myself, like in the next couple of weeks, we
Mhm.
put out an interview with Michael Jonathan Smith recently. So check that out because he wrote episodes 1, 6, and 9. That's a long, long way from home, Ouroboros, and also Survivors. So check that out. A lot of great nuggets and so many more things I wanted to ask him that I didn't get a chance to get. And
Mhm.
I guess my son is singing back here. I don't know if you could hear that, but he's singing. Uh, and Watch Party, you got something that you are currently working on that you want to pimp out and also give out contacts where people can find you if they want to get a hold of you.
I don't have anything Cobra Kai in the oven right now. But I did just recently put out some videos on season 5. I put out a season 6 video on Julie Pierce that has gotten a good reaction too. If you want to check out that one, how Julie Pierce can enter. Basically that's a theory video on what would actually bring her into the story. Like what's the story reason? That's a really good reaction. So definitely if you want to check those out. I put out a video on Wednesday if you're interested on that, using the Hayden scale, which is something I'm developing and trying to apply more. But so that's that. I'm on YouTube at Watch Party is the name of the channel. You can find it. Lots of Cobra Kai analysis and theories there and some other stuff. And then on Twitter and Instagram at Watch Party One, the number one. So I, by all means, you can give me follows, shoot me a tweet or something. I'll be happy to, I'll see that and, give you a reply or see what happens.
All right. For me, I already kind of mentioned some coverages coming in the future. You know, things we hear about Twisted Metal, which is show run by Michael Johnson Smith, writer producer of Cobra Kai, obviously, and Obliterated. Those coverages will come once we get there. Again, Peyton List, who produced School Spirits, that drops on
Oh, she
March
produced
9th.
it.
She also produced it. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I
I
did mention
didn't
that
know
earlier.
you
Yeah, yeah.
knew that. I didn't know.
Oh, um, when
I
you
guess
read,
I guess you just did your due diligence
I did.
research.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Producer Peyton List. She, School Spirits. The first three episodes, which we found out pre-recording here, that all the first three will drop March 9th, and then one new episode every Thursday
Mhm.
thereafter. If you have Paramount Plus, it is exclusive to that streaming platform. If you have that and you catch the first episode, who knows? You might be able to make a decision whether or not you want to watch more after that,
Mhm.
and keep an eye out in the event I started coverage for School Spirits as well here at Companion. So I say that because the transition to Companion Network might come much sooner because I didn't realize that my domain is coming to a renewal, and so I got some really big decisions to make soon.
Oh, mhm.
Also, I am getting bombarded, and I'm not even using that term loosely. I'm getting bombarded with voicemails and emails to being asked to be in season six, ideas for season six. So clearly, people continue to Google Cobra Kai email or Cobra Kai phone number and think that I work for the show. So the sooner I can start like a new domain, I can create a new email and stop having the stuff that I don't want. I have the email there for people to send feedback, and I haven't had that in a really long time. So I don't think anyone's really going to miss it if I make that change. And for those that do use the email, they'll follow me and they'll know when I make that change. Anyway, so
Mhm.
for me, if Twitter is your thing, you can find me at Cobra Kai Pod and on Instagram at Cobra Kai Companion, Companion spelled with a K. So thanks, Watch Party, again for being so accommodating as always. And thank you guys for your guys' continued support. And until the next episode, Grimpo Sensei, love fishing, love sake bombs. This is part of the Companion Network.